I ripped the Atlantic a new one for promoting socialism in youth sports in today's Hot 8! So a while back, there was an article in the Atlantic entitled, "American Meritocracy is Killing Youth Sports." Yes, according to the Atlantic, the idea that people who are good at things should be rewarded is killing an activity where people who aren't good at things get rewarded. So in this piece, the author, Derek Thompson, makes the argument that because there's been a small decline in youth sports participation from 2011 to 2017, about 4.5%, that this is a class issue. Because every damn thing is a class or privilege issue to these people. There's a lot of stupid to go around in this article, so I'm just going to focus on a few key points. First of all, the fact that youth sports participation is actually rising among families making $100,000 a year or more is made out to be a bad thing in this article, all because the participation rate is dropping in families that make less than $25,000 a year. Never mind that the author provides no evidence whatsoever that there is any sort of relationship between these two facts. So the author talks about well-off families supposedly paying all this money to put their kids on these so-called travel teams, and that this supposedly hurts poorer kids by taking resources out of local youth sports programs. And to which I say, what is this guy even talking about? Like, what sort of youth sports environment is he describing? Because I played team sports a lot as a kid. I played in a lot of recreational leagues as a kid. I played in the YMCA. I played in my intramural basketball league. I played in my community center basketball league. I played in the Boys and Girls Club basketball league. I played a little bit of Babe Ruth baseball. And if travel teams were ever a thing when I was growing up, none of us cared. Like, we just wanted to beat the people in front of us. So I severely doubt that this author has ever actually played a sport, because he would know that if you actually play sports, like, you don't, especially as a kid, you don't think about all this complicated stuff. Well, look at Timmy sending his team to some travel. You don't care about all that. You're focused on beating the team in front of you. And then this guy tries to claim that the so-called leftovers, as in the kids that actually just play in their local leagues and don't get on these fancy travel teams, that they supposedly lose interest. And of course, to try to back this point up, he quotes a soccer executive, the king of non-sport sports. So, to quote him, as Chris Moore, the executive officer of the U.S. Youth Soccer Association, told the New York Times, if you can't make a travel team, some kids may say, what's the point? And quit playing altogether, end quote. On what planet do kids say this? You know why I played basketball as a kid? Because I loved it. And sure, I wanted to win. You bet your ass I wanted to win. But if that were the only consideration, then I would have quit playing real early on, because I was only on, I think, maybe one or two teams in all the times I played basketball and baseball that ever actually had a winning record. So to me, that's just absolute nonsense that, because they're not on a travel team, they're not going to bother. I'm sorry, that's BS. And if a child is discouraged from playing sports at all because they didn't make some fancy travel team, that is indicative of an attitude problem with that child, and you shouldn't be spending money on them to play sports until you get their attitude right. And once again, Europe's law comes into play here, as the author cites Norway as the shining example of youth sports egalitarianism. You know, if these leftists love Europe so damn much, why don't they just move there and leave the rest of us alone? Anyway, he makes the argument that because Norway uses stolen taxpayer money to fund its youth sports programs and values, quote, participation over competition, end quote, to such an extent that a youth sports team can get banished from the Norwegian Confederation of Sports if they publish scores of their games online. That because of all that, their system is better than ours. And he attempts to back up that argument by saying the following, quote, "It might seem like any country's athletic prowess would atrophy under such socialist and anti-competitive policies. Instead, Norway is an athletic juggernaut. In the last Winter Olympics, the country won 39 medals, the most of any country in the history of the Games, and nearly twice as many as the United States. It did so with a smaller population than Minnesota's." And admittedly, when I first saw that statistic, I'm like, that's actually kind of impressive. Until I realized that I could cherry pick facts too. So I decided to look at the 2016 Summer Olympics, which of course features more sports than Americans actually care about, like basketball, for example. You want to know how those games went? I'll tell you how. The United States whooped everybody's ass. It wasn't even close. We took home 121 medals at the Summer Olympic Games. The next closest country was China with 70. You know how many medals Norway took home from the 2016 Summer Games? 4. That's right. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have more fingers on my hand than the amount of medals that Norway took home in the 2016 Summer Olympic Games. And this idiot is over here trying to cite them as the gold standard of what youth sports should aspire to? No, absolutely not. Get out of here. Your argument is invalid. Your article is bad, and you should feel bad. Meritocracy is not destroying youth sports in the United States. The thing that's destroying it, if anything, is leftists like this idiot trying to inject their nonsense rhetoric like this class warfare stuff into kids just trying to have fun and enjoy their lives. Just stop it, man. That's my take.